That day in the supermarket, nobody said a word. And it was exactly that silence that changed everything. The young man who said his name was Adam was staring out the window as he spoke, his voice shaky but determined. He was a 29-year-old engineer. His beard was neatly trimmed, his clothes simple but clean, and in his eyes there was a tiredness that looked like it had been collecting for years. He had grown up in these American streets, gone to school here, graduated from a university here. But that day, what happened at the supermarket, would make him feel like a stranger all over again. And as you listen to this story, you'll see that to turn someone's life upside down, sometimes a single look, a single sentence, a single silent crowd is enough. But here's the real question. Out of that silent crowd, will someone finally speak up? It was close to 7 p.m. He had left work barely 30 minutes earlier. He was exhausted, but he didn't want to go home empty-handed. He was going to pick up the chocolate his little sister Lily loved and a few things his mother had asked for. When he walked into the big local supermarket, the automatic doors slid open and a wave of cool air mixed with that faint detergent smell washed over him. Adam instinctively glanced around. It was a reflex he'd had since he was a kid. Are people staring at me? Especially lately, with his beard, the simple silver ring on his finger, and the bracelet with Arabic calligraphy around his wrist, the uncomfortable stares had only increased. No one said anything openly, maybe, but their eyes did. As he walked between the aisles, he told himself, maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe no one's thinking anything. Maybe it's all in my head. At that moment, soft music drifted out from the store speakers. Adam picked up a carton of milk and checked the expiration date. Then, a loaf of bread, some eggs, some cheese, normal, ordinary things. Just another everyday shopping trip. Ordinary. That's what it was supposed to be. But a few minutes later, that ordinary moment would shatter, and Adam would be forced to question every time he had chosen to quietly endure. What happened that suddenly changed everything? Adam headed toward the checkout. He was carrying a small basket. The line wasn't very long. In front of him stood an older woman. Behind him, a man in a suit with graying hair. The man wore an expensive watch and had that expression people get when they're used to getting their way, confident, maybe even a little arrogant. Adam glanced at his phone, a couple of work emails, and a message from a friend. Bro, I dealt with some messed up stuff on the subway again, I'll tell you. Bro. Adam sighed inwardly. Again, he thought. Again on the subway. Again on the bus. Again in the street, in the supermarket, everywhere, little comments. So, where are you really from? With that beard and all, you scare people, you know. You can't be born here. You don't even have an accent. But. Then it was the older woman's turn. The young cashier smiled politely and read out the total. The woman slowly pulled out her wallet and started counting coins one by one. The man behind Adam let out a loud, impatient sigh. Is this a supermarket or a nursing home? He muttered. Adam pretended not to hear. The woman finally gathered her bags and left. Now it was Adam's turn at the register. He set his basket on the belt and reached for his wallet, but noticed the cashier's face suddenly tense. Right then, a harsh voice rose from behind him. Moscow video. Hey, hold on a second. Out of instinct, Adam turned his head. The man in the suit behind him was pointing straight at him. There was an ugly suspicion in his eyes, and something like disdain tugging at the corner of his mouth. Ma'am, you might want to check his stuff. I saw him messing with the packages in the aisle. Before he put them in his basket, you should probably check the security cameras. Sorry, but guys like him sometimes switch products out. Then we end up with spoiled stuff, and we're the ones who deal with it. Guys like him. Those 3 words silenced every sentence that had been running through Adam's mind. He had heard that phrase before, not always in those exact words, but with the exact same meaning. People like you don't come around here much. People from your side of the world are different, you know. You're not like us. The cashier looked from Adam to the man, visibly startled. The air inside the supermarket suddenly grew heavy. And the worst part was that no one said anything. Right here, something crucial is about to happen in this story. If Adam stays silent, that familiar silence wins again. But what if, this time, he doesn't? For a moment, Adam felt like he couldn't breathe. Guys like him. It was as if those words were an invisible label slapped on his forehead. He tried to steady himself and asked in a calm voice, "What do you mean by guys like him?" The man gave him a smile, one of those smiles that had no trace of kindness in it. "What do you think I mean, man? It's obvious. You're not from here. Middle East, right? Haven't you been watching the news this past week? We all see what you people are doing. Sorry, but we've got to protect ourselves too. We, you." The word "we" hung in the air with a heavy implication. The cashier tried to step in. "Sir, please, let's calm down. If you really have a concern, I can call our security officer, but—" The man cut her off. "The system's with Mater 4. Yeah, call him. Let's check the cameras. I don't just talk for nothing. This guy." He slowly looked Adam up and down his beard, his bracelet, his ring. "Fits the profile. Fits the profile. Thanks for watching. Fits the profile." That phrase, which usually stayed unspoken in people's eyes, was now said out loud. Customers down the aisle were starting to notice something was going on. Some sensed there was a problem, but didn't dare come closer. Others consciously turned away, choosing not to see. Adam's heart was racing. Again, he thought. Again, again, again. Up to this moment in the story, Adam has always forced himself to stay calm. But in a moment, something just as heavy as the accusation will fall on him. Inestic. The silence. And it's exactly that silence that hurts the most. The cashier's hand trembled as she reached for the phone. "Is this important topically? The Pasix well." The cashier's hand trembled as she reached for the phone. "Mike, can you come to the front? We've got a bit of a situation." It wasn't minutes. It was seconds before he arrived. The security guard Mike walked briskly toward the register. He was in his 42nds, a bit of a belly, but you could tell he'd been athletic once. He looked from face to face, trying to understand what was going on. What's going on here? The man in the suit jumped in immediately. The presented man Muslim Stories Untold. "I'll tell you what's going on. This guy here was messing with packages in the aisle. Before he put them in his basket, he took stuff out. People like this sometimes swap products and then bring back the spoiled ones. You should check the cameras. I know what I saw. People like this." Mike's eyes lingered on Adam for a few seconds. For Adam, it felt like minutes, and in that look, he searched for something. Justice. Neutrality. A little understanding. Some sign of, "Relax, we'll sort this out." But the first words that came out were different. The sodded friends. "Sir, I'm gonna need to check your bag and your basket, and we might have to take a look at the camera footage. It's just procedure." Procedure. That word sometimes serves as a mask for fairness and sometimes as an excuse for fear. Adam felt his jaw tighten. Procedure? Just because of his accusation? He wanted to ask, but his tongue felt heavy, like it was glued to the roof of his mouth. The man in the suit smirked, like he'd already won. "There you go. That's how it should be. This isn't some lawless place. We all care about our safety. Right, Adam? I guessed your name, didn't I?" Adam squeezed his bracelet with his left hand. On it, in Arabic, it said, "Sabr, patience." It felt like the bracelet was whispering, "Hold it in now, speak later." His eyes scanned the supermarket. End quote. His eyes scanned the supermarket. No one spoke. And at this point, the story's hidden hero was about to step onto the scene. Because in every crowd there is at least one person who chooses not to stay silent. But until that person speaks, silence owns everything. Who is that person going to be? Adam was just about to open his bag and let them check everything when a clear, steady voice came from behind. "Excuse me, I saw what happened." Everyone turned at once. The voice belonged to a woman in her mid-20s, wearing jeans and a hijab. She held a small basket with pasta, sauce, and some fruit. Her cheeks were slightly flushed, but her eyes were firm. The man in the suit frowned. "And what exactly did you see, ma'am?" She took a deep breath, the kind of breath even Adam hadn't been able to take. "I saw him. I mean Adam. We were in the same aisle. All he did was check the expiration dates, put a couple of items back, then grabbed a different carton. He didn't open anything. He didn't take anything out of any box." There was a murmur through the store. A few people turned and looked more closely now, suddenly interested. The man scoffed. "Sure, of course. You're on his team, I get it. What else are you gonna say?" On his team. This time it was that phrase that sunk deep into Adam's chest. The young woman's face flushed a shade deeper, but she didn't back down. You're right, I am on his team. We're on the same team. We're human. We're human. The cashier, Sarah, couldn't help but give the slightest smile. Mike's face showed hesitation. The man in the suit was still aggressive, still sure the system would stand beside him. Because people like him have one major advantage: the silent majority. But now, there was a voice, an objection. And once a wall cracks, the rest is easier. The real question now was, would that crack be enough to start healing the fractures inside Adam? Security guard Mike looked between them. Two paths lay in front of him. T04, W2. He could hide behind procedure, take Adam to the camera room, and cement the suspicion around him. Or he could handle this with common sense and fairness. The man in the suit raised his voice. Look, I've been shopping here for years. I've got VIP status. My spending here is on record. You've all seen the news lately. Don't tell me you haven't. You have a responsibility. Are you going to take the word of this random girl over a loyal customer like me? The weight of money, status, customer profile, all of it hung in the air. Adam realized something in that moment. This wasn't just about him. This was about a wall of prejudice that had been quietly standing in front of people like him for years. Time slowed down. Even his own voice sounded distant when he heard himself speak. I was born in this country, went to school in this city. I'm an electrical engineer. I helped design the building going up right outside this supermarket. I've shopped here for years. But all you see when you look at me is guys like him. So who are you? His voice shook as he said it, but for the first time, his eyes met the man's with a steady gaze. Right now, in front of all these people, you're treating me like a thief. What's your evidence? My beard? My bracelet? The fact that I'm Muslim? The store grew even more silent. Mike looked at Adam again, and for the first time, he didn't see a suspect. He saw a hurt human being. And that's when he said the words that would tip the scale. Sir, Mike turned to the man in the suit. If we're going to check the cameras, we check them for everyone, but we don't accuse someone based only on assumptions. Before we search his bag, let's be clear about what you actually saw. Because right now, what you're describing sounds a lot like prejudice. The man's expression hardened. He hadn't expected this. He was used to the system quietly supporting him, again and again. So now I'm the bad guy? You calling me a liar? The young woman stepped in again. No one's calling you a liar, but you can be wrong without lying. Sometimes we're just unfair, especially when we judge people just by how they look. After those words, something in the atmosphere shifted. A couple of customers nodded slightly. Two people at the back stopped whispering and turned fully toward the scene. Notice this. Just a few minutes ago, everyone was silent. Now there's this faint sense of, she's right. Standing up for someone's dignity sometimes starts with just one sentence. But the real turning point was still ahead when the man would say something no one expected. The man in the suit looked around. He seemed to search for support, someone to say, yeah, he's right. No one did. Mike's firm stance, the young woman's words, and Adam's unshaken gaze left him alone for the first time. He shrugged, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Krastas with sarcasm. Ten Wergentu. Hushad. Hu Wergentuda. He shrugged. Fine. Do whatever you want. Just don't start crying if something happens later. I was just trying to help. Can't say anything in this country anymore. He tossed his basket onto another register, paid quickly. The cashier's eyes had gone cold. Whatever special value he thought he had as a loyal customer had faded. He rushed out the door. The automatic doors slid shut behind him, and the people inside the supermarket collectively exhaled. Especially Adam. Mike turned to Adam. Sir, I'm sorry you had to go through that here. I'm not going to hide behind the word procedure. To be honest, I let his words influence me for a second, and that was wrong. Adam swallowed. Thanks for saying that. But you know, if someone punches you in the face, it hurts for a while, and then it goes away. Words. Sometimes they stay a lot longer. I was born here, but in some people's eyes, I'm still a guest. The young woman gave a small smile. The last of Vetter. You're not a guest. This is your home, too. That line echoed in Adam's head. It was just a small sentence, but it carried enough warmth to lighten years of weight. So should the story end here? Does Adam just go home and file this away as just another bad experience? Or does he decide that this time he won't stay quiet? The real transformation starts right after this. By the time he got home, it was dark outside. Streetlights lined the sidewalk in a warm yellow glow. His mother was in the kitchen making dinner, his little sister Lily studying in her room. Adam set the grocery bags on the counter. His mother smiled. "You look worn out again, honey. Work draining you this much?" Adam wanted to say, "It's not work, Mom, it's people." But instead he said, SOT9, SL tag. It was a long day. Lily peeked her head out of her room. "Did you get the chocolate?" Adam managed a small smile and pulled the chocolate bar from the bag, waving it. "Of course I did." "You're the best," she shouted, then disappeared into her room again. Adam sat down on a kitchen stool. His mother noticed the shadow on his face. "You're somewhere else," she said quietly. "Something happened. I won't force you to talk, but don't bottle it up." He saw the entire supermarket scene play back in his mind. His all contritions. Guys like him. You're on his team. Fits the profile. Then the young woman's voice. "We're human. You're not a guest." He took a breath. "Something happened at the supermarket today," he began. He told her everything, from start to finish. She listened in silence. At a few points, her eyes glistened. When he finished, the kitchen was full, not just of the smell of dinner, but of a quiet anger. His mother spoke with surprising calm. "Son, I went through much worse than this when I was younger. But there's a difference now." Adam frowned slightly. "What's different, Mom?" "You don't have to stay quiet." That sentence opened another door in his mind. Yes, there had been generations who had swallowed their pain, but he didn't have to repeat that story. He whispered, "What can I even do?" This is one of the key turning points in this story. For the first time, Adam asked himself, "What can I do?" And that question would push him onto a path he never expected. That night, he went to his room, sat down at his desk, turned on his laptop. Normally, he'd play a game, watch a couple of videos, and call it a night. But this time, his fingers went straight to the search bar. Everyday racism in America. Discrimination in supermarkets and public places. How to fight prejudice. He found hundreds of videos, blog posts, news articles. Many were in different languages, some in English. People were sharing their stories, talking about the injustices they faced, trying to show others that they weren't alone. A thought crept into his mind. What if I tell my story too? Not as a rant, not as empty complaints, but in a deeper, more cinematic, more transformative way. Maybe, as a Muslim engineer living in America, he could show people something they rarely saw. His real life, his real fears, his real hope. Immediately, the inner critic jumped in. "No one's gonna care. They'll make fun of you, or they'll tell you you're exaggerating." But that night, the young woman's voice from the store drowned that doubt out. 417:4. "You're not a guest. This is your home too." Adam took a breath. He looked at the old webcam on his laptop, then reached for his phone instead. The camera on his phone was better anyway. "Maybe I won't even show my face," he murmured. "Maybe I'll just start with my voice. The story is what matters." And he hit record. He didn't look at the screen. He just spoke into the mic. "Hey, my name is Adam. I'm a Muslim engineer who was born and raised here in the United States. Today I want to tell you about something that happened to me at a supermarket. But this isn't just a story about a store. It's a story about what silence can cost us." He talked, and as the words flowed, he felt something shift inside. Years of swallowed hurt were finally turning into sentences. And maybe someone out there watching this would remember his story the next time they saw something unfair. And instead of staying quiet, they'd choose to speak up. What Adam didn't know yet was this. That small video was going to change the course of his life. The next day after work, he edited the video. Nothing fancy. No big production, just his voice with soft background music and some text on the screen summarizing what happened. He gave it a title, One Hijais. In the Binaglu, one supermarket, one look, one sentence, guys like him. He hovered over the post button for a long time. I'm just gonna delete it. Forget it, he thought. Then his mother's words echoed again. You don't have to stay quiet. He clicked. The video went live. For the first few hours, nothing much happened. A handful of likes from friends, a couple of comments. Man, I'm so sorry this happened to you. This is messed up. We're with you. He went to sleep. The next morning, his phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Half asleep, he looked at the screen. The video had been watched thousands of times. There were hundreds of comments. Some said is with Remus Fraz. Some said, I went through almost the exact same thing. Thank you. I feel less alone. We need to hear more stories like this. For everyone who says racism doesn't exist, watch this. Of course, there were negative comments too. The Tanalaktan expected onetu, a comment R. Here we go again, playing the victim. Not everything is racism. People like you are why this country's going downhill. People like you. This time he saw the phrase on his screen, but he didn't feel alone anymore. Because right under those comments were lots of people responding, defending him. Did you even watch the video? This is exactly the problem comments like yours. He's literally describing what happened. Why are you so threatened? One comment stood out. Hey Adam, I'm a sociology student. My friends and I are doing a project on everyday discrimination in public spaces. Your story is a textbook example. With your permission, I'd love to use your video in a presentation. Also, if you have more stories like this, please share them. We need to hear them. That was the tipping point. Adam realized that his ordinary day could be a window into a reality others needed to understand. This wasn't just his story anymore. It belonged to a lot of people. And whether he planned it or not, he was becoming one of the people telling it. That realization would push him toward an even bigger step. Weeks went by. Adam kept making videos about the small and big moments in his life. The stares, the questions, the microaggressions, the kindnesses too. His internal struggles, his faith, his attempts to respond with dignity. And at the end of every video, he would say, Has stupor a town. If one day you see someone being treated unfairly at a store, on the train, at school, at work, please don't stay silent. One sentence can change everything. His following grew slowly but steadily. More important than the numbers were the messages. I'm not Muslim, but your videos made me realize how many stereotypes I've been carrying. I'm embarrassed, but grateful. Another one. Something like this happened on my bus today. Normally I would have stayed quiet, but your story came to mind. I spoke up. And for the first time, someone turned to me and said, Thank you for saying something. Every message took Adam back to that supermarket. He could see the man's face, the cashier's hesitation, the security guard's doubt, the young woman's courage. And every time he thought, what if she hadn't spoken up? Maybe he'd still be one of the silent ones. Maybe these videos wouldn't exist. Maybe countless people would still feel like they're suffering alone. That's why he wanted to ask you, the listener, a direct question. Which side are you on? Are you part of the silent crowd? Or are you one of the few who can say, even alone, this is not right? This question is the mirror this story holds up to you. But Adam's journey still wasn't over. About 3 months passed. Adam still lived in the same neighborhood, worked the same job, and yes, shopped at the same supermarket. That day it was evening again. This time Lily walked beside him, chattering about school. When they turned down the familiar aisle, Lily lowered her voice. Is this the store? Adam smiled. D.I. Adam smiled. D.I. Adam smiled. Yeah, this is the one. Aren't you nervous? She asked. Part of him wanted to say, I used to be. Instead, he answered, Not anymore, because this isn't just where something bad happened. It's where something started. They headed to the checkout. The cashier recognized him and smiled. It was the same cashier from that day. Her name, he'd learned it since, was Sarah. Hi Adam, good to see you, she said. And she meant it. Good to see you too, he replied. He was reaching for his wallet when a familiar voice came from behind. I don't believe it. It's you. Adam turned slowly. The man in the suit stood there. Same kind of outfit, same expensive watch, but his expression was different. No confidence, no smugness, no aggression. He walked closer. Sarah stiffened, bracing herself. Lily gripped her brother's arm and stared at the man. He cleared his throat. You're Adam, right? The guy who makes those videos? There was a long second of silence. Yeah, Adam said finally. That's me. The man lowered his gaze. And then he said something no one expected. Rastopping backed on he died. That day, in the store, what I said to you, I want to apologize. The air in the supermarket changed. Sarah looked stunned. Lily's mouth fell open a little. Adam took a deep breath. He didn't say anything. Not yet. The man kept talking. Quote, they have today, to this date. The man kept talking. I watched your video. Then I watched the others. I'll be honest, at first, I got mad. I thought you were attacking me. He's making me look like the bad guy in front of everyone, you know? But then I read the comments. I listened to other stories. And I realized something. I've been acting like that my whole life without even thinking about it. Not just to you. To anyone with a beard, a headscarf, an accent. I automatically treated them as suspicious. I judged you without knowing you. And the people commenting, they were right. What I did was racist. It was probably one of the heaviest but most honest confessions Adam had ever heard. The man went on. 10-7 insured 10-7. If it's okay with you, in your next video about what happened here, I'd like you to tell them that I apologized, that I admitted I was wrong. People shouldn't just hear about the mistake. They should hear that people can change too. Adam felt his eyes sting. That had been a secret hope of his all along. Not that people would be labeled as bad forever, but that they would realize their mistakes and grow. He nodded slowly. I'll tell them, he said. Because this story isn't just about people who suffer from racism. It's also about the ones who realize they were part of the problem and choose to change. Lily squeezed his hand. Sarah smiled softly. And for the first time, the silence in that supermarket felt peaceful. This time, silence didn't belong to fear or injustice. It belonged to a truth everyone had finally seen. That night, Adam recorded a new video. This time, he faced the camera fully, looked straight into the lens as if he were looking into your eyes. Today, I ran into the man who told me, guys like him 3 months ago, he began. And he apologized. He paused, letting that sink in. If you're watching this, maybe you've been on the receiving end of something like that. At a store, on the subway, at work, at school. Maybe you're the person people walk past and stare at. Maybe you're the one people whisper about. Or maybe, if you're honest with yourself, you've been the one saying those things. People like you. You fit the profile. Maybe you've stood by silently, watching it happen, telling yourself, it's none of my business. He leaned in slightly. Whichever one you are. The person who's been hurt, the person who's done the hurting, or the one who stayed silent. You are still part of this story. My name is Adam. I'm a Muslim engineer. I was born here. I grew up here. This is my home. And I finally understand something. I don't have to stay quiet. And neither do you. If you're ever in a supermarket, on a bus, in a classroom, and you see someone getting treated like I was, please don't stay silent. One sentence. One. Wait, I saw what happened. It can change a person's life. It can change the way a community talks. It can change what's considered normal. It's another 7,300. It's another 73. It's another 7,300. That day in the supermarket, I thought nobody said anything. But one person did. And at that exact moment, everything changed. The screen slowly faded to black. Only one sentence remained. James subscribed to the shaders. End quote. Which side are you on?